everybody. Welcome to day 3 of the Tacoma-Pierce County Chamber of Commerce Premier Business Event. It's our virtual South Sound Summit. I am Josh Dunn, President and CEO of Premier Media Group, and I'll be your MC this morning. We have a full day of learning experiences with local innovators, leaders, and thought pioneers who will share information and insights that we all need to move our businesses forward and our local community. The theme of this session today is opportunities in front of us, marketing during and post COVID-19. This morning panelists are Stephanie Schramm, our fearless leader from Madcap Marketing, Doug Burton, head coach, VSG Marketing, and Rusty George, principal at Rusty George Creative. And after this morning's session, we'll have a brief break. It is the perfect time to meet, to mingle with other event attendees during our virtual expo. To enjoy this virtual expo platform, have the best experience possible, I want to share a helpful few pointers for you. If you have not already done so, be sure to complete your personal information through your swap card dashboard. I encourage you to send connection requests and messages to fellow attendees. This will help you connect and network. In addition, when it comes to vendor booths and giveaways, be sure to connect with staff, members at each booth to qualify for a prize giveaway. But last but not least, during each session, you can ask questions by clicking on the live discussion question tab located on the right side of the session screen. But before we get started, I want to thank our sponsors and vendors for this event. Our primary sponsors include Columbia Bank, BCRA, Business Health Trust, Corsmo Construction, Minority Business Development Agency, Multicare Health Systems, Pacific Source Health Plans, and Pierce County Economic Development. We have a jam-packed agenda for you today, so let's get started. Let me introduce you our first panelist. Stephanie Schramm is the fearless leader at Madcap Marketing. Stephanie has been a prominent fixture in South Sound business community for over 2 decades. This marketing and media buying and event experience and her many connections benefit clients in ways that other firms only can dream of. An expert in all facets of marketing, clients turn to her and her team for doing excellence in everything they do. With Stephanie, it's about passion, innovation, and results, period. When Stephanie isn't working on Madcap business, she enjoys spending time with her husband of 20 plus years. And she has a teenage daughter that keeps her on her toes, like many of us. She also loves to play softball, but mostly her passion is getting her passport stamped as a world traveler. Our next panelist, Mr. Doug Burton, head coach at VSG Marketing. Doug Burton is the founder and head coach of VSG Marketing. VSG is a full-service marketing agency HQ'd in Tacoma, Washington. VSG was founded in 2003. Prior to that, Doug served as the executive manager of a large retail organization. Doug credits much of his success to significant mentors in his life while playing college football for legendary coach Frosty Wettering. Doug developed many of his business and coaching philosophies because Frosty makes the big time where you are. Philosophy of peak performance allowed Doug to play at a high level and really enjoy the trip of college athletics and life in general. In 2003, Doug created VSG in order to pursue his passion for marketing and technology. Today, VSG is a leader in providing professional marketing, consultation, and technology solutions to companies of all sizes and all industries. And finally, our last panelist this morning is Rusty George. Rusty is the principal at Rusty George Creative. Rusty applies over 25 years of creative wisdom to supervise a team of highly skilled artisans and thinkers that produce compelling brand experiences for a variety of amazing clients. When not guiding clients through the studio's brand process, he can be found speaking at any number of regional conferences on the importance of telling a strong story through visual communications. This crew might know a thing or two about video production and put together their chat for us in advance. So we'll watch their amazing presentation and then come back to you live for some awesome Q&A. Enjoy.
Welcome, South Sound business leaders. Thanks for being here. This is your marketing session. Lord help you. I'm Stephanie Schramm. I'm with Madcap Marketing. We're an all-in marketing firm, does everything from business card to billboard.
My name is Doug Burton. I am the head coach, also the owner of VSG Marketing. We're a full-service agency headquartered right here in Tacoma. I've been doing it for a whole lot of years, so I think this is 18 plus for VSG.
And I'm Rusty George, and we've been around since before the turn of the century. We've been doing branding and brand strategy for companies that kind of gravitate towards companies in the ACE, the architectural, construction, and engineering. And we do the full gamut from starting with your brand to marketing you and making you look great.
Great. So we're here today. Hopefully we can answer some questions about what we're seeing in our worlds, the world of marketing, branding, promotion, PR, help you decide how to get forward through the pandemic, getting out of the pandemic, moving into 2021. But really, we just want to talk to you guys about what we're seeing and what we're recommending, which could change daily too, so don't hold us to it.
That's the only constant is change right now,
especially
right?
in marketing, right?
Yeah.
That was always the case, but now so 20-fold.
For sure.
For sure. So
For sure.
I don't know about you guys, but we are doing a lot of crisis management, really. So the good news is most of our clients have weathered the storm fairly well. They've been able to reinvent and stay in business, which thank the Lord for that. But, you know, where marketing used to be all about engaging and converting and acquiring clients and cash flow, a lot of crisis management this year, a lot of just trying to figure out how to stay afloat, a lot of digital marketing, which has been interesting. We can talk more about that. But what are you guys seeing?
Yeah. I think for me, one of the things that we've seen foundationally is the folks that had a digital relevant mindset. I mean, they were looking at their technology from their web, and their public facing, their social, they had a plan and had already been doing that. So the folks that kind of weathered the storm the best were ones that had a mindset to be digitally relevant. And I think the folks that have been on their heels a little bit and panicking are folks that realized they were behind, and it's really jump-started that to where they had to panic a little bit in some cases, but they had to move very quickly to get to that spot where they had a digital presence that they could actually survive.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And I've been seeing a lot of companies that we work with. The South Sound is very industrial, and there's a lot of companies that really haven't had to advertise up until this point, like construction companies or builders, people like that. And they were doing so great over the last 10 years, and suddenly they're just paralyzed, not really knowing which way to go and what to really invest in.
Yeah, so that's a good point, because a lot of the marketplaces, so I'm strong B2B, you kind of have that, I mean, none of us are niched per se, we'll help anybody. I'm strong B2B, and Rusty kind of already said what he focuses in on, and you do a little bit more B2C than the two of us, don't you?
You know, I would say a huge part of us is the marketing technology, the MarTech stack for us, foundationally having marketing automation, web development, really the perfect piece for us was we were in that digital space.
Right.
I think one of the things, though, that you've seen all these folks scramble to be digitally relevant, but some of the things that we've been preaching for 20 years are even more paramount and true today than they were previously.
Absolutely.
It's a saying I've said for literally 20 years: market to your best customers first, your best prospects second, and the rest of the world last. So I think foundationally, people, if they remember who their customers are, remember who they are, pivot and adjust, but not forsake everything that got them to where they were and forgetting their identity. I think that's a mistake people have made, is they tried to, instead of pivoting, they tried to reinvent and become something they're not.
Right.
And sometimes you have to do that, but I think the folks that have held true and held fast to who they are and what their niche is, and then just pivot and adjust.
Yeah, pivot more of the offerings, not of the culture and the brand.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that
sure.
too. Yeah, and it's been interesting because what I've seen a lot of is, you're right, those that have already kind of were set up to be successful in the digital space have now we've really honed it in for them, and it's been pretty good. I saw 2 studies come out recently in our trade industries. One was that online spending in general, now I'm sure it's the Amazons and all that good stuff, they're up 60+%, right? And then digital marketing is up 40%. But I think the thing is that people at least your small to medium-sized business owner isn't real sure, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Is that Google? Is that Amazon? Is that social? Is that right? And I've been saying, well, yes.
Sure.
It depends who you are and what you are. But I don't know, Rusty, if you've seen this with brands, but I've seen with our website stuff. So, we've got a web developer team, we've got social media. And in the past, those guys have been busy, but now those guys are slammed, where our media buying and our event production and stuff like that has kind of taken a slower role. We've just flipped in our own business. But the smart ones have really taken the quiet time to get the website done, get the social media footprint built out, hopefully get their brand in good shape and maybe up to date from everybody that let it sit there since the 80s or whatever it may be.
Not that ever happens.
No,
right?
never, no.
And we've been hearing a lot of people say that, hey, what do they actually focus on? Because you can't do every single aspect of digital marketing or social media marketing, and you can't do just one. So where does it kind of fit in the recipe for their success?
Right.
And it kind of varies across the spectrum, but we have found that, the ones that really haven't done anything, just getting started with, claiming everything from your LinkedIn corporate page to your Google corporate page and getting all that into alignment. So at least you kind of up your credibility, to start, so that you can, have that as a launch pad as you kind of build a marketing plan.
Sure.
Right, and I think Rusty was right on. Like the last 10 years or so have been pretty good. And so if things weren't quite dialed in or as clean as they should have been, it was okay, we're busy. It may not be okay anymore, right?
Sure.
So let's take the time to do that. I've spent more time on the back end of Google than I ever thought possible.
Right.
And a lot of people have.
And a lot of
people are waking up going, oh, this is something we have to get serious about. you
Right.
know?
And I think that's a great place to, I think that they need housekeeping.
Yeah. Well, I think it's not even just the technology, it's really understanding who you are as a business. And I think the folks that have done really well in this time is they've sat down internally as a team and said, what are we going to be about? And we may have been about 6 or 7 or 10 things, sometimes 3 times that, right? Little identity crisis, but really honed it down to who we are and where is the low-hanging fruit for us as a business, and made sure that all of their digital presence, from their website to their sales collateral, clearly speak to who they are and what they do.
What they're after.
What that unique selling proposition is. And I think the ones that have done well have said, well, what's the old excuse? Well, that's the way we've always done it. And really, that's the kiss of death when people say, well, I'm just going to get stuck in that, rather than saying, hey, what an amazing opportunity to really refine who we are and what we're about, what are our values, and not just the unique selling proposition, but who we are as an organization. How are we going to take care of our existing clients? I think that's a mindset that a lot of us have had to deal with. In fact, we talked about it at one of our last roundtables of how are you going to handle those scenarios where your clients are coming to you saying, help, right? We don't know what we're about.
Right.
Walk us through that. Part counselor, part
It's the fun part of the job. That's the fun part of the job.
Well, and then a lot of the clients that I'm working with is trying to shift their mindset from always talking about who they are.
Yes.
Everything from their proposals to their website and everything, where they're just this diatribe about how wonderful they are and what a great place and all these wonderful accomplishments that they've done before, rather than shifting that and putting it on its head and then thinking about the people that are coming to your website and what their needs are and how they can serve. And instead of always kind of jumping on them with how wonderful you are, give them solutions and give them reasons to continue on and start that conversation. Yeah,
that's funny you say that. We were sitting at a roundtable with a client the other day, a virtual roundtable, and talking about their social media strategy. And I actually said, can we stop talking about you and start talking about what's important to your end user? And they weren't against that at all, but it was an aha moment on, oh, I guess we can expand this. Like, yes, occasionally you absolutely want to use your platforms for marketing, but you also, social media, social, let's be social, right? Let's network online is kind of how I sell that proposition. So it's what's interesting to me, and I don't know about you guys, but with a lot of the companies scaling back employees or reassigning employees to roles and duties, what I've seen too is one of the cons of this is that even though the pro is it's given them the space to not always do what they've always done, and they're actually open to change, one of the cons is that with the rearranging of staff, what I've seen is where they used to meet on a week or a monthly basis, where the salespeople and maybe the marketing folk or the admin or the executives would sit in the same room and talk it out, and maybe sometimes we're in those meetings.
Sure.
That's not happening, right? So now I'm curious on, are you guys seeing the fact that, okay, all this digital marketing up, it's clean, it may even be super effective, which is great, but were they converting on the sales side? And if they are they tracking that? And if, are they talking, is the left hand and the right hand talking internally? And I'm not so sure they are. And so I haven't personally come up with a fix for that per se. Like when my client says, well, how do we know if it's working? Well, analytics, the good thing about digital marketing is analytics, they are what they are. It's pretty black and white. But once they are working, let's say the client gets 100 leads this month and their sales are up by X percentage, well, we can assume it's working. But the sales staff, or whoever's closing the deal, may not know if it came from social or Google or some pretty brand piece that they're pitching, right? So I've seen a lot of that happening because staff has just either been rearranged or cut. I mean, is staffing changes changing your guys' world day to day on being their marketing partner? Because it feels like for us it is a little bit.
Yeah, I think the organizations that we dealt with, a lot of times you'll see them try to be something that they're not. And so next thing you know, that because they're right sizing their organization or they're asking people to do things that they really don't have capacity to do.
Right.
And they're not setting that individual up for success. If they're taking someone that is trained in a particular area and they're asking them to next thing you know, be a marketer or look at Google Analytics and make those things. And so I think realizing who you are and who you're not, and not asking things of your people that they're not set up for success. And so I think good organizations, you talked about that communication piece. They've got to communicate even better. It's more paramount today than it ever has before. Well, part of it is we're remote, and I don't know about you guys, but that pivot for me was hard. I'm a high five guy. I want to see the whites of your eyes. The rest of you and I've talked about this too, right? You're a little old school in that sense, and I think we've had some of our staff be much more productive virtual than they ever were in the office. That's just how they were wired. That was their superpowers. And so I think organizations, one, have to be flexible. And man, you got to over-communicate in seasons like this.
Right.
Over-communicate with your audience. It's not just internally with your staff. I think that's one of the things that I've seen a lot of people make the mistake of is it's pandemic, it's crazy, it's election year, and they start to pull everything in.
Paralyzed, like Rusty said, absolutely.
Yeah, they're frozen. And it's not just in how they communicate with an external audience, B2B, B2C, it doesn't matter. It's how they communicate internally. Man, you've got to communicate what your plan is. Here's what we're doing. Here's how we're going to weather the storm. We're okay. Follow me. I got this. That kind of confidence building with your team and your clients. So when you're paring things back, you've got to over communicate. Here's where we're going. We're going to get through this. It's going to be okay.
I heard a speaker on a series earlier in the sessions that said he's actually way more effective. Where he was seeing 5 people a day, maybe it's now went to 10 because he doesn't have the drive time. And it's different. It may not always be as buddy-buddy like we like, but he's like, but I'm way more efficient.
Yeah. And I think there's a trade-off. I sat in my first jump on a plane, travel, I'm sitting in a boardroom with 8 kind of high-level folks, and they wanted to wear masks. And man, it was so hard because I had no idea. Like, hey, how are we doing? Did you like what I said?
You can't tell if they're sticking their tongue out at you.
And that's a really hard dynamic when you're relational. But I think the takeaway of it is, you got to pivot in the way that you handle relationships with people, relationships with your staff, how you market to your clients. It isn't about how you want to market. It's how do they want to be communicated to. Right?
Which has always been the case.
It's not any different.
No,
it really
isn't.
We kind of get lulled to sleep thinking that, well, that's the way we've always done it.
Right.
As far as marketing goes, and actually more brand positioning, I've talked to a couple of clients who took advantage of this situation to kind of step back and reassess how they've kind of progressed in the last 10 years. And there are some clients who actually came to that epiphany that, the constant work and the constant new opportunities got them to positions where they were kind of spread out and they were trying to be so many things to so many people, be generalists. And one client in particular, I was really proud of them. They were able to say, hey, does taking on all this commercial work and all this bid and the race to the bottom of the lowest price and the lowest margins. Is that really what we want to do? And they had to unfortunately shed a couple of people off their team, but that also gave them the power, and it was that thing that had been on their minds so long, to actually just focus on one thing, on one industry that was the most lucrative for them, most rewarding for them, and the better opportunities if they got rid of that generalist mentality and just focus on one niche. The riches are in the niches, and for small businesses or people out there, it's way more effective to just get really good at one thing and become that thought leader, and then use your brand positioning, which then goes to social media and digital marketing and speaking engagements that then kind of make you that much more attractive to prospects and credible. There is that opportunity that's going on right now to some people who are brave enough to actually make that step.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And it's funny because we're going to get this question, so that's a great transition to just squash the question. No, we don't see each other as competitors. No, we don't. There's enough business out there, and we all feel like we're super good at what we do. And what I do really, really well may not be the same, or isn't the same of what these guys do really, really well. We can all do a little bit of it, but we know where we're good and where we're set up for success. And so I know we're going to get the question, why are you sitting on a stage with a bunch of competitors? That's not how we view each other.
We refer to it as our superpowers. And it's kind of us as individuals and then us as a business as well. We're working on a really fun project right now, and it's big. And we knew there were a couple areas that we needed to accomplish as part of this holistic campaign, but it wasn't our superpower. We just weren't great at it. And so I think for us, it's been able to pull in partners that are better at something than us, pull them in, leverage that, manage it so that they're, the level of service, we're not marginalizing on that because it's our name on it. But yet being humble enough to go, I'm going to find somebody that's better at something than I am, pull them in, and leverage their superpowers on that. And I think that's I would say a coaching tip for some of the businesses out there is, man, don't try to be everything to everybody, especially in this season. And Rusty, you talked about, I love that,
or the only one to do something, like that's just not reasonable. One-man show, like that's crazy.
So what we don't have in that culture is fake it till you make it, right? I mean, you hear that sometimes when, you try to be all those things. And I think when you're running with lean teams and times are tough, you've got to have confidence in who you are and double down on what you do well and be willing to pull in other people that are. And
the more you can, concentrate your focus and grow your expertise, the less you're, kind of stumbling around for something to talk about on social media. Because nobody cares about, hey, it's Seahawks Friday and everybody's wearing our jerseys. That's awesome once in a blue moon, but that's not what people are coming to your social media for. They're concerned about needing your service, and they're looking for somebody, they're considering other people along with you. And if they come to you and you're actually talking to them and giving them, little snippets of what they might need. Answers. That is way more effective marketing, way more effective use of the social media and
especially your business media. I mean, you want to put your Blue Friday jersey on it, put it on your personal profile, right?
Sure.
And that's for, attraction of talent, really kind of promoting your culture. And, we're all going to come out of this, and people are going to be needing, qualified employees and talent. You want to be able to show that you're a great place to work, but that's not for new business. That's not for marketing and business development.
All right, so what's our final thoughts today? What do we think? Before Josh takes us away to Q&A, what do we want to do? Our final, besides Rusty for president.
We're
going to start that rumor.
I wouldn't even.
We'll start that rumor. What other political office?
I've been talking this whole time with a fly on my forehead, right?
We should have put a plastic fly on his forehead. What were we thinking?
That would be good.
Okay.
I think for me, and it comes back to what I believe at VSG our superpowers are, is be digitally relevant. If you're not in that space and you're not working towards it, I made a bold statement a year ago. I think it was a quote I said, is if you're gonna cease to exist if you're not working on being digitally relevant, and I think it's true more so than ever. And it's not too late to start. I think that's a lot of times people feel like, oh my gosh, I'm so far behind. How am I ever going to get caught up? A year from now, you wish you'd started today. And I would say that digital relevant piece in everything you're doing, start with your web, look at your strategy, in your content.
Call somebody that's a superpower at it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And understand your why. What is it that you're trying to accomplish? And remember who you are, and stick to it, because times are tough. And I would say that's the last piece, and more of an interpersonal deal. I would encourage these guys. We have a roundtable of folks in similar industries, and I know there's been a lot of phone calls between this group talking each other off the ledge, resonating and helping each other.
Yeah.
Find it takes a village. Find others that you can rally around and that will help you. I think that's part of it is, the marketing partners, but also it's just people that are walking in the same, shoes as you are. Yeah.
And the worst thing you can do is not do anything, and advertising doesn't cost money when it works.
Right.
And it is devastating if you don't do anything, especially right now, coming out of this craziness. It's going to be behind us one of these days. We're going to have to be back on track. And, the best thing to do is just start right now, like Doug was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think we all have kids. Don't kill the kids. Yes, the homeschooling sucks. I get you. Don't kill the kids. No, I'm serious. I would agree. My staff has been my rock this year. Yeah. So I know a lot of us had to pare down or switch roles or whatever the case may be. I've been blessed that my staff has been awesome. We've all reinvented and honed in on skills and have just come together as a team and have had high levels of communication. So I'm going to do the communicate thing. Internally, your communication should be through the roof, and externally, you got to do it. You just have to do it. Digitally makes sense because everyone's consuming that. But however is right by you and answers your why, I would say make it happen.
Absolutely.
All right, this is one of my favorite parts of the morning, a chance where we can get some real live Q&A, or I've got some thoughts I want to ask our wonderful panelists on. I would love to know from our panelists here today, provide us as leaders and owners and thought leaders, give us 2 concepts, ideas, points of interest that we need to be thinking about right now this week. And I will start with the lovely lady, Stephanie Schramm.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks for doing this with us, too. Great to have you. I think as being a business owner to business owner, I would say if you haven't taken the time to really audit every single thing that's going on in your company and rolling over every stone, you should be doing that. You should be taking this time to look at the why have we always done it this way, or the, I'll get to that sometime. Do it now. Time to clean up the table and get to business. So that's number 1. And then number 2, I would say you really got to communicate to your clientele or your prospective clientele. Are you open? And if so, at what level? I think the presumption out there is you're closed unless you say otherwise. So just make sure that people are really aware of what you're up to and how they can get a hold of you and how they can still support you.
That's good. Rusty, how about you?
With the clients that I talk to, a lot of them are still kind of clinging to traditional methods of marketing or traditional ways of getting out there. And right now is a good time to take a beat, take a pause, and look at what you're doing and really kind of defining your purpose and being able to articulate that to your staff, to your community, and to your prospects. And the second thing is just being out there and embracing the fact that it's going to end one day and kind of planning for 2021.
That's good. Doug?
I think the first challenge we have as leaders is times are tough, and that is a reality that we are facing and are going to continue to face. And so are we pointing to a vision of what we've created with our staff and with our clients? Are we creating a confidence in them and being an encourager in those seasons, right? Times are tough, and I think it's us and it's paramount as leaders to make sure that we are encouraging and pointing people towards a vision and a direction that we have for our organizations. I think another one would be really, we've talked about it earlier, this digital relevance piece. And there's a quote, I mentioned it earlier, it's to market to your best customers first, best prospects second, and the rest of the world last. And really, at the core, what that means is, are you taking care of the people that are loyal clients, people that know you, love you, believe in your brand, and making sure that you are staying in constant communication with that. You're reaching out to them, you're staying connected, you're helping them, you're thanking them for their business, you're reaffirming that you are there with them for the long haul. So I think a huge part of this is the interpersonal side of just relationships and encouraging people, clients, your staff, whoever it may be. We're going to get through this, and we're going to do it together.
No, that's good. Part of this season that I just had a coffee with my grandfather, and he mentioned a couple things for me to think about is, for all of us, cash is king, as well as simplify our systems and process. And that's something that certainly we're working on with Premier Media, is to really look at ways to, A, protect the cash flow and simplify the process. I also want to mix this up with some fun humanity aspects to this. So I would love to know from our amazing guests today, what is your number one app right now that you're using? Rusty, we'll start with you.
I hate to say it, because I was actually reading or listening on the radio today about how there's this lawsuit against Google for, basically having the monopoly on all the search engines right now. It's like 95% right now market share. And I hate to say it, but our biggest thing was transitioning from the old other guy's platform to the G Suite account. And I fought it kicking and screaming. I am a traditionalist, and it's really hard to do change, but we've really embraced it because of the fact that it allows so many things to be integrated in all the business approaches, everything from your communications to being able to talk like on Zoom, to email, to chat, to all the software that you need. So we did that, and I hate to be an evangelist now on something that I was really fighting, but I really believe that it's helped us be more efficient and not going from software to software to software. So that's what we did.
That's good. Doug, how about you?
So I'm going to answer the question, and I will, at the risk of my staff calling me out as not being genuine in this, but I would say the app that our staff is really embracing the most is Slack. And I will say I have not embraced it nearly as much as our staff is. I am a relationship guy. I'd much rather talk with someone face to face. And I think that there's a lesson in that in there as a leader, being able to engage with stuff that may be out of your comfort zone or what's not best for you, but what's best for the whole of your team. So my staff would answer Slack has been the coolest app that they're using and getting the most value of it. I'm the late adopter, but I think that's part of really understanding these times is it's not just about you, it's about what your staff and what your people are embracing rather than your own personal preferences.
Yeah, that's good. I concur. Stephanie.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the Google bandwagon. We live in Google Hangouts as a staff, and we love that because then we don't clunkify our email systems. So as a crew, all been remote pretty much since March. We are living and breathing Google Hangouts. As a human and as a parent, I live on the Schoology app. I have a high schooler, and she claims she gets all her stuff done, and I just have to peek into Schoology to see if I can bust her or praise her. So as a parent, it's Schoology. But as a business owner, it's been the Google Hangouts.
No, that's good. On the business front, so right now what we're seeing is this is also a season where we're having probably the number one season of startups for small businesses is going on during a pandemic, which is very ironic. What advice would you give for us for starting up your company during COVID? Stephanie, we'll start with you.
Yeah, and I see the comment from Jennifer English. So congratulations on your new company. That's awesome. Welcome to the world of business ownership. I say it's a great time. I started my company in the last recession, and I did it because I felt like business owners were letting go of marketing directors and needed someone to kind of fill the shoes of consultant because they were letting go of their in-house marketing person. And I actually used the recession as a part of my business plan. So I think now is an absolute great time. Landscapes are changing all across our region, our country, our world. So if your business plan solves a solution for something that's in the midst of that change, I think you're going to do fantastic. So, have a business plan, have a marketing plan, and then make sure that you have some sort of sales plan. Marketing and sales need to go hand in hand.
Yeah, for sure. As my grandfather always told me, nothing happens until you sell something.
That's right.
Doug, how about you?
I think for me, and this is true as a startup, and I think it's even more paramount and more true 25 years later after doing this for a long time, is I use a terminology all the time of really understanding and operating in your superpowers. And we mentioned it earlier. For me, what that means is to really understand what your lane is. Where are you gifted at? What makes you you? Because that's what your go-to is that's going to make you successful. And I think there's this terminology that we're all using of pivoting. And pivoting is important, but if you're trying to reinvent yourself and be something that you're not, man, you're going to really struggle as you try to build a business model around that. So I think for me, it's have a measure of humility and understand who you are and what you do and what your superpowers are. What do you do well? Because that's what's going to get you through tough times. I think each one of us would say that would be, whether it be recession or pandemics or whatever, man, you go back to your shot, right? You go back to what you're good at, and that's what gets us through these tough times. So stay in your lane, know your superpowers, and try to build things around that.
That's good. Yeah. Rusty.
We talked a little bit about this in the intro video, but you're being assaulted with more information in 1 week than the average person living in 1850 was exposed to in his entire lifetime. And by the time you go home tonight, you'll have been exposed to over 7,000 different marketing pitches. And, just going out there and talking about how great you are is not going to get you anywhere in this day and age. People are looking for help. They're looking for solutions to their problems. And rather than being all things to all people and just saying, hey, what do you need done? We can do that. Try to find what you truly are gifted at, what you have this great subject matter expertise at, and just like Doug was saying, stay in that lane and hold on to it and get really, really good at that, so that when people, when you're looking for things to market on social media, nobody really cares that all of you guys are dressed in blue to celebrate Seahawks Friday. That's nice, but that's not going to get you anywhere. Instead, you have to put yourself in the brain of who is coming to you and try to figure out what is their anxiety point, and what you can offer to them, not trying to sell them at that moment, but what you can offer to them as a solution in the interim before they actually engage with you. That will build trust and credibility and galvanize memory of you way better than any other kind of transactional kind of advertising.
That's good. That's great. And for all of us, we're getting pruned, and we're in a season like none of us had ever planned for. So for us to go forward, our intent as leaders is we want to be stronger than ever before. From your perspective, what does stronger on the other side look like coming through COVID-19? Rusty, we'll start with you.
Pass.
Answer it in an
right.
elusive way.
All right, we'll go to Stephanie on this one.
Oh, what does stronger look like? So I think stronger looks like knowing who you are and what you want to do and why. Like I said, if you haven't been living in that lane, it's time to get in that lane and do what's right by you. I think stronger looks like, at least from our perspective as a company, is making sure that my crew is dialed into their strengths and supporting them to grow those strengths, so that when the normalcy comes back and the crazy comes back, they're more apt to take that on and not feel pressured. And I also think that this was a little bit of a gift. I mean, I was given the gift of time with my family, with my daughter, and I realized how much I was running, and I don't need to do that. It's healthy for me to slow down and enjoy my life. And so I think that we can all pause and try to see the positivity on this, and that makes us stronger humans also, is to learn from it. As long as you're learning, you're stronger.
That's good. Doug, how about you?
Stephanie, that's such a great coaching tip. I love that. I think for me, stronger on the other side looks at, it's been fun to watch our staff and some of our clients really shine in this season. I think stronger coming out the other side stronger looks at, there are things that we had in our business that a pandemic forced us to really evaluate. Why are we doing this? And there were things that we had to set aside and say, we're just not going to do that anymore. And whether that be cost-driven or whether that be inefficiencies, or we just had to be more lean, that we said to ourselves, why were we doing this? Had we convinced ourselves that that was so important to us that we couldn't do without it? So coming out the other side, we're going to be leaner. We're going to celebrate the successes of some of our people that have shined in these seasons. And we're going to celebrate those and then continue to keep that momentum going in those areas that we've accelerated in times when it was tough.
That's good.
Okay, so
Rusty wants to come in now.
He's ready.
coming
ready.
back again.
All right.
Okay, so
all ready,
I was
Rusty.
actually just reading that we start the day already engaged in the day, and 80% of the thoughts that we have are the exact same thoughts that we had the day before, and like 60% of those are actually negative thoughts. And so we're always kind of conditioned to just kind of start off and already presupposing, all the decisions that are going to be made. So instead of that, one of the things that I'm doing personally is like, trying to cut out all that clutter and really create a plan, and not necessarily a year plan of being stronger, but maybe a 3-year plan. You overestimate what you can accomplish in a year. You underestimate what you can accomplish in 3. So being stronger means actually kind of developing a plan, really articulating it in your mind and making it so it can be attainable, not in a year where you're going to get, kind of discouraged. The minute that this is over, everybody's going to be like, oh, I should have spent more time planning. I should have spent more time doing this, but actually keeping to something that you can attain and be better off 3 years from now.
Well, thank you, Dr. Rusty George. You'll be signing books this afternoon at the Barnes & Noble Lakewood store. We'll see you all there at 2 o'clock this afternoon. When it comes to digital ad space, there's a lot of questions we're getting in the chat around where do we go? Where can we invest? What are some of the platforms and what are some of the brands or media that is important to spend locally in the South Sound? And let's go with Doug to start us off.
Yeah, I would say one of the first things I would look at would be your own best ad space, and that's your website. So when you look at it, is it clearly articulating and communicating what your unique selling proposition is? When people go to your website, do they understand who you are, what you're doing, and how it's going to help benefit them as a consumer? So I think that's your best landscape. Is it optimized? Are people able to find it? When they land there, is your unique selling proposition so clear that they know exactly that they've found the right spot? And then there's something that they can actually do to engage with you. So form capture, automations to be able to follow up with those people. Are you immediately responding to those opportunities? I think a lot of times people in this deal have pulled in the reins and they've, withdrawn a little bit. Man, it's more important ever than you are communicating with people. You're responding quickly. You're telling your story. So I would say the first one would be, before you look to all of these external things, look to your own technologies, your website, your CRM. Are you communicating with people, and how are you doing that effectively? So look to yourself first before you ever go to those external platforms.
Great. So now that we've looked internally, we've evaluated all of our platforms that we're leading on the going into the market. Rusty, Stephanie, we'll start with you. Where do you see great platforms or great investments right now?
Yeah, I'm so glad Doug said that. We always want to look at your stuff first. Website, absolutely. A website's not a website anymore. This could be an hour on digital marketing. We can't cover all that, but is your website mobile friendly? Everyone says, "Oh, of course it is." And is it really? Android, iPhone, tablet? The world has changed. So, yeah, cleaning up your own house first, right? And then that goes farther. Like, is your social media handles built out? Are they built properly? Are you registered with all the different dictation softwares now? Apple, Alexa, Google Maps. That all of that needs to be set up. If that is set up beautifully, which most of you probably can't say that, but if it's done and it's done well, then if you truly want to spend money, do not spend money until you're set up properly and you're set up well, because otherwise your money is not well spent. And coming from a marketer, that's hard to say. But once that's done well, then you can spend some money. It really depends on your industry, your clientele. But, digital marketing is beautiful in the fact that you can geo-target exactly the area you want to sell to. You can audience target exactly the prospects you want to go to, and you can really track the responses, whether it's impressions, click-throughs, conversions, whatever their campaign might need to do. So get your footprint done right first, Josh. Good. Is super important. And then if you're going to spend money, depending if you're hyper-local, you don't have to have a huge budget to do that well. If you're regional, then, you're going to have to spend a little bit more. And if you're national, then you need to know your markets and what marketplaces you're in are different expenditures. So again, you can find all that out pretty easily by doing some research or have a great marketing agency by your side.
And kind of dovetailing on that, I hate to get back on the Google train, but there's all these tactics out there, HubSpot, Moz, that you can spend lots of money on subscriptions in order to find inbound visitor traffic, the rates and, the methods that they're coming. And it kind of paralyzes you because there's so many options to do. And again, to where I'm saying, kind of just pick one thing and get really great at it. One of the things that we've done in the last year is really get good at Google Analytics. It's free, and it's the minute you get in there, it's intimidating as all heck because there's so many different things. But there's all kinds of tutorials online just to be able to educate yourself about how your website's structured, how people are coming, what's working and what's not working. You don't have to be a PhD and learn every single facet of it, but get to the point where you can understand how that's going in order to define and make decisions on how you present yourself.
Yeah.
Good.
Josh, we know the real answer is Premier Media Group, all your publications, Tacoma Chamber of Commerce. I mean,
right.
shameless plug, buddy, for our host.
I hear magazines are really, really hot right
popping.
now.
Yeah, social media too, you guys. Social media, that's where, like Rusty said, they kind of took it upon themselves to get big into the Google Analytics. We have done a lot of social media studying. We've got 2 experts on staff now that's all they do. So your social media, I know a lot of business owners out there that have been fighting, like, I don't want a social media. It's a waste of my time, or it's not. It's really not. If it's done well, content creation is, you can do that really well.
There are 1,000 ways to get out there, and you can't do all of them, and you can't just stick to one.
Correct.
So find your right mix. You don't have to, post to LinkedIn every week or something if that really isn't your audience, or Facebook or Instagram, but you find a good mix that makes it so that you're out there and it's something manageable for you, so you don't just drop it after 2 weeks.
Right. I think that's good advice, because I see a lot of us get really overwhelmed when it comes to all the platforms, all the opportunities, and then we want to be everywhere, but then we don't have the resources or the manpower or the skill sets to lead in every vertical. Versus if you just maybe you just want to do Instagram and you just want to own that. Maybe you're a chef, you just want to own the visual aspect of Instagram, or perhaps you're more on the journalism side, you want more of a Twitter aspect, or email marketing. I mean, there's so many lanes we can be in, but man, be great at one before you're great at 15 to 20. Looking at email is essentially the new gateway to the door of a company. Can you provide us some email etiquette, some things that you feel is a must or avoid when it comes to email and engagement, both as a leader or as a marketer? What are some things that are really important to you? Because all of us probably can attest, we've had more email connectivity than ever before, and there's a lot of lengthy, long emails that we want to get away from. So how about some tips and tricks on email? Rusty.
Well, believe it or not, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but the most effective communication strategy out there as far as marketing in the B2B sector, and I mean maybe also in the B2C, but not so much, is email. People, although that it's like that magical thing that when you're stopped at a light, basically you're just sitting and deleting all the crap emails before you get to the ones that you need. But still, it's really an effective way of communicating and just creating top of mind awareness. And like I said, it's not about sending emails about promotions, about selling, about like, hey, these great doorbuster things, right now. It depends on what you're in. But if you're just trying to acquire new business, the best thing you can do is have an email where you're giving out some kind of advice to a targeted group of people that would need that advice, starting with a video that's really short and sweet, takes you to a YouTube page that you've set up or maybe on your website. And again, not necessarily trying to pitch to people or sell to people. Just say, have them know that you're around, have them know that you have that kind of ability that they eventually will need, but really setting it up as more of a connection than a, kind of a, expectation of something to happen immediately.
That's good. Doug, how about you?
I think the biggest thing with most communications, and I would say email is especially true in this sense, would be understanding your audience and what they want to hear and what information they want rather than what you want to give them. So really understanding your audiences, what information are they looking for, and that content that you're going to provide to them, solving their pain points. I think so many times the noise of emails and our inboxes just get flooded. Make it about what the consumer wants to hear. I think part of that is being able to, and Stephanie talked about targeting, it's what are they asking for? So having some technologies or having your content match the audience and the information they want. I think that's the biggest thing. The rest is noise. We all get inundated so much with stuff, so we've got to make sure that what we're sharing is what they're asking for.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Stephanie, how about you?
Yeah, I would take a pass on this one like Rusty did before, but I'll be good. So first and foremost, personally, email etiquette. I apologize to all my friends, family, and business cohorts. I'm a terrible emailer. I'm very short and to the point. Sorry, I really do love you. On the marketing side, Rusty's right on. Email marketing has been huge in 2020. The open rates have skyrocketed for the campaigns that we've been a part of. 20-30+% open rates, it's amazing. So I think that, again, Rusty's right on with content. It does not sales pitch, sales pitch, sales pitch. It's humanize it. You know, we're in this together on so many levels. Humanize it, target it, give the advice, that the expertise that you are, and frequency, right? Frequency is king, and just stick to it. But yeah, email marketing has been hugely successful this year.
And one of the best one of the best investments that you can make is in a targeted email list or a contact list. It goes all the way from, there are companies out there that can drill down the exact people that you're looking to get in front of and their email addresses, all the way to, you can go to the public library, and you know, it's a free thing, free database that you can pull from. You have to do a lot of scrubbing that way, but sending out 100 emails to people that immediately will benefit from what you're sending is better than sending out 10,000 to just anybody out there. And that makes it so that your open rate just can go sky high, and make it way more successful and make them less annoyed by the fact that you're sending something to, you know, introduce yourself. So
that's good. Quality over quantity for sure.
Yeah, that's good. Someone in the chat has asked us about, you know, collaborations or collab marketing or co-branding. What's your take when you take, you know, essentially two brands or two companies or two platforms, two partners, and coming together? As we all know, most partnerships fail, and at times we try to avoid them, but there are those that do become quite successful. Can any of you share some collab or co-marketing opportunities that you feel are good right now for us to be thinking about? Rusty, we'll start with you.
Well, I mean, I come from a branding perspective, so it's a matter of, in this day and age, maybe there's a weaker company that needs to be acquired by a stronger company or whatever. So I take it from that kind of a perspective, and that's always difficult, you know, if there's some kind of a merger going on. The biggest thing is to allow everyone to participate in the conversation and have their voice be heard, whether it's just kind of opening it up just for input or having them, you know, actually be part of the decision-making process. It's about aligning the values of both corporations and trying to find what all of those can be kind of distilled down into a driving purpose, and making it so that everyone feels like they're involved in that initiative, and so that, you know, there's not like a vacuum that they fill with rumors and everything like that. It's always good to be upfront and honest about stuff if you're actually doing that kind of acquisition. And as far as, you know, co-branding, or co-marketing, it's just like the question of, do you want to be a house of brands or a branded house? Do you want to be a house of, oh, there you go. Some more real big ones.
Write that down, folks.
Some brain burners there. A house of brands, you know, is like, you know, many different brands that are sponsored, that, you know, they're the main things out there. Or is it a house of brands where it's one house, you know, that is, you know, kind of sponsoring all these other sub brands underneath it? And just making sure that you are kind of aligning the vision with everyone as you kind of go out there, and what is going to make the most sense for you.
That's good. Doug, you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think one of the things that, and maybe the litmus test to answer that question would be, it is hard as business owners to establish a brand, educate people about that brand just for ourselves. If we're trying to now do that with ourselves and someone else, if in any way, shape, or form that brand messaging dilutes either of the two, I'd steer away from it. Yeah. So it's hard enough to brand yourself. So that would be a gauge I would look at as to whether or not it even makes sense. Now, hear me this, though. I would say when you have opportunities to promote partners that you believe in and that you think provide an amazing service, go to town on that. So in your social channels, if you can be cross-promoting other folks that their superpowers are different than yours, go for it. That reciprocity and that is fun. We love helping our partners find more business and grow their business because that helps us all.
Right.
But yeah, I'd be cautious in that co-branding piece to not dilute your own messaging.
Very good. Stephanie, you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I
Co-branding?
totally agree. I think collaboration versus co-branding is very different. Collaboration all day, every day. I feel like the people that are on the stage with me right now are my biggest supporters. People think we're competition. We're not. These guys are my allies. We feed each other business. We feed each other ideas. We learn from each other. Collaboration all day long. Co-branding, not so much. Co-branding, I think Doug's right on. I think it's hard enough to grab market share. And we take a lot of time, blood, sweat, tears, money to build our brand. Every one of us does. All of you do. So own your brand. Don't share that brand. If you want to collaborate or highlight partners that you're big with, great. But I'm not a big fan of sharing brand.
Yeah. And this basically kind of concludes our morning session. But just from my heart, what a joy this has been this morning that these fellow leaders, we've been doing this in the marketplace. All four of us have been in the market together, leading for over 20 years. And I've had the amazing privilege to personally get to know each one, as well as to do business with everyone. And we meet for coffee every month to talk shop and figure out what's working here, how can we make South Sound the best place to do business in Washington. And that's what these folks are doing. I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. You've done a fantastic job. So before we leave our break, I want to once again thank our sponsors. As we all know, none of this can happen without our amazing sponsors. Columbia Bank, BCRA, Business Health Trust, Corsmo Construction, Minority Business Development Agency, Multi-Care Health System, Pacific North Health Plans, and Pierce County Economic Development. This afternoon session will be from 1 to 2 o'clock, and we must make sure we're all there this afternoon. We have an amazing speaker series this afternoon on the future of sports, events, and retail in the South Sound. We have Aaron Artman, president of Tacoma Rainiers. We have Anthony Antone, president CEO of Washington Hospitality Association, and Shalene Potvin-Bird, vice president of sales at Travel Tacoma. We will now take a brief break, but don't forget to mix, to mingle, to ping, to chat, to connect with our sponsors, with all of our guests and attendees. Make sure to send a connection request to each staff vendor of the booth. And many of these booths and partners have incredible giveaways and drawings. And those amazing partners that are giving away drawings today are BSG Solutions is giving away 2 items valued over $1,500. Website design and a site setup of 5 pages. Another one is Vallejo Vocation. Huge giveaway for a hire crew to beautify your company at no cost to the owner. A value of over $300. We have LEAP giving away a $5,000 voucher for tuition help for the LEAP Leadership Accelerated Program. Also, Image 360 is giving away 2 COVID business packages that include 1 acrylic sneeze guard and 4 social distancing floor decals with your company logo and colors that we all need, valued over $250. Wilson Albers is giving away a $50 Amazon gift card. And Bliss, who doesn't like a little ice cream, giving away a $5 ice cream voucher. Business Health Trust giving away hand sanitizers and 2 sanitizer refills valued over $250. Aldridge giving away a pair of Apple AirPods. This is awesome. Valued over $160. OB Credit Union giving away Beer Brewing Traditions of the Pacific Northwest, a t-shirt and mask combo valued over $50. And Tacoma-Pierce County Chamber, our lovely host for today, is giving away a $100 gift card to Anthony's Restaurants. Just want to say thank you again for joining us on day 3 of the South Sound Summit. Go virtually mix and mingle. We'll see you back at 1 o'clock. And thank you for a great way to start the day.
Hashtag Rusty George for president.
Boom. Good job, you guys.